The war between humans and the Zaroth Empire had ended only 6 months ago. Both sides were exhausted and millions had suffered. Yet the peace treaty was fragile, hanging by a thread of fear and pride. The Zaroth were a powerful alien race led by their ruler, Queen Solara, who believed no other species in the galaxy could rival her kind in intelligence or strength. The humans, on the other hand, were smaller in number and younger as a civilization, but they had something the Zaroth could not understand easily: adaptability and unpredictable thinking. When the peace talks began, Queen Solara demanded that one human representative must visit her on her homeworld, not as an equal, but as a test subject of intelligence. She wanted to prove that humans were clever only by luck, not by nature. The human government hesitated, but one man volunteered, a scientist named Aaron Wells. He was known for his calm mind and strange sense of curiosity. He had no special powers, no advanced weapon, only his brain and a sense of humor that sometimes got him into trouble. When the transport ship landed on the Zaroth capital world, Aaron stepped out wearing a simple gray suit. The air shimmered with energy from the massive city around him. Towering spires of crystal reached the clouds and strange light patterns moved across the surface like living art. Thousands of alien eyes followed him as he walked. The Zaroth soldiers stood tall and silent. They had silver scales and sharp ridges along their heads. To them, the human looked fragile, soft, and unimpressive. Some even hissed in amusement as he passed by. Aaron noticed their stares but kept walking with a small smile. He was not here to fight. He was here to learn. At the palace gates, Queen Solara waited. She was tall and regal, her eyes glowing blue like twin stars. Her crown was made of black crystal, and her voice carried both power and beauty. "You are the one they sent to represent humanity," she said. "Yes, Your Majesty," Aaron replied politely. "I am Aaron Wells." Her gaze swept over him like a storm. "You seem smaller than I expected. Are all humans this fragile?" Aaron chuckled softly. "Only on the outside, Your Majesty. Inside we are very stubborn." Some of the alien guards hissed at his boldness, but Solara raised a hand. "Interesting. Stubbornness can be both strength and weakness. We will see which it is for you." She turned and led him into her grand hall. The walls were covered with glowing runes that shifted and changed. A group of alien scholars stood beside a strange machine that looked like a mix of crystal and metal. "This device," said Solara, "is called the Mind Prism. It tests intelligence, strategy, and creativity. Every ruler of the Zaroth must pass its trials to earn their crown. You human will attempt it once. If you fail, I will declare your kind unworthy of alliance." Aaron nodded. "And if I pass?" Solara's eyes narrowed. "Then I will admit that humans possess wisdom equal to the Zaroth. But no one has ever passed it on the first attempt." Aaron smiled slightly. "There's a first time for everything." The room grew silent. Even the hum of the machine seemed to pause. The Queen gestured and the Mind Prism activated. A sphere of light formed in front of Aaron. Inside it, shapes moved. Puzzles of energy, shifting patterns, and symbols that made no sense at first glance. A voice echoed in his mind, mechanical but ancient. "Solve the sequence of creation." Aaron frowned in thought. He stared at the glowing symbols. They seemed random, but he noticed patterns in how they moved. His mind began connecting ideas: energy cycles, symmetry, motion. He whispered to himself as he worked. Meanwhile, the alien scholars watched closely. They expected him to fail quickly. Most Zaroth spent weeks studying before solving even one sequence. But within minutes, Aaron's hands began moving in rhythm with the light, adjusting the controls that changed the pattern. The room filled with brighter energy as one part of the puzzle aligned. Solara leaned forward slightly, her eyes narrowing. "Impossible," she murmured. Aaron continued without looking up. His focus deepened. The second and third sequences were harder, involving logic that bent the rules of physics. But humans were used to chaos, and he treated it like a game. He laughed once under his breath when the pattern tricked him, then adjusted and found a new way around it. When the final sequence appeared, it looked unsolvable. The symbols moved too fast, changing color and position every second. The Zaroth scholars whispered that the trial was over. But Aaron simply closed his eyes. He remembered something his teacher once told him, that the answer to complex systems is often found by stepping back and looking at the whole, not the pieces. He opened his eyes again and smiled. Instead of chasing the moving symbols, he changed the base energy flow of the device, slowing everything down until the symbols aligned on their own. A deep hum filled the hall. The mind prism glowed white and then faded into silence. The trial had ended. The machine's voice spoke again. Sequence complete. Human has succeeded. The entire hall erupted in shock. The alien scholars gasped and stepped back. Queen Solara stood frozen for a moment. Then her expression hardened. "No one has ever completed it on the first attempt," she said slowly. Aaron bowed slightly. "Maybe you should make it harder next time." The guards hissed in anger, but Solara raised her hand again. Her eyes burned like fire now, but there was also something else in them. Respect mixed with fury. "You have made history, human. You have done what even my own kind have failed to do," she said. "How did you know the solution?" Aaron shrugged. "I didn't know. I just looked at it from a different angle." Solara stared at him for a long moment. "Your kind thinks differently. You break rules without even realizing it. That may be your greatest strength, or your greatest danger." She turned and walked toward the throne. "The council will not be pleased. They believe humans should be our servants, not our rivals. You have challenged their pride." Aaron stood quietly. "I didn't come here to challenge anyone. I came to understand." Solara looked back at him. "Understanding can be more dangerous than war." The hall was silent again. The alien guards seemed uneasy, as if they could sense that something important had changed. Finally, Solara spoke again, her voice colder, but still calm. "You will remain in the palace for now. I must speak with the council before deciding what to do with you." Aaron nodded. "As you wish, Your Majesty." 2 guards escorted him to a guest chamber filled with alien technology and strange glowing plants. When they left, he sat down on the edge of the bed and exhaled. He had not expected to win. He only followed his instincts, yet now he had caused waves across an entire empire. Outside the chamber, the queen stood on a balcony overlooking her city. Her advisors spoke nervously behind her. "Your Majesty, the human success is a threat to our authority," one of them said. "If word spreads, other races will see the Zaroth as weak." Solara's gaze remained on the horizon. "The humans solved what we could not. That is not weakness. That is a warning. What will you do?" the advisor asked. She turned her head slightly. "I will test him further. I want to see if his success was skill or luck. No human should be able to outsmart the Zaroth Queen so easily." Far below, in the heart of the palace, the mind prism's light flickered once more. Its ancient systems had recorded Aaron's performance. Hidden deep inside its code, a strange signal began to form, a whisper of curiosity from the machine itself. The morning on the Zaroth homeworld was different from Earth. The sun there was pale blue, and the light gave everything a calm, cold glow. Inside the guest chamber, Aaron woke up early. The strange room hummed quietly with alien energy. The walls were alive, shifting colors like breathing skin. He stood by the window and looked at the vast city stretching to the horizon. Thousands of crystal towers reflected the morning light. Flying ships moved between them, guided by beams of energy that looked like shining roads in the sky. He smiled softly. "Beautiful and dangerous," he whispered. A small chime rang at the door. It opened without a sound, and a guard stepped in. The guard had silver scales and sharp eyes. His name was Raylock, and he spoke in a deep voice. "The Queen commands your presence," he said. Aaron nodded. "Then I should not keep her waiting." Raylock looked at him for a moment before speaking again. "You surprised her yesterday. No one has ever done that before. Be careful. The Queen does not like to be surprised." Aaron gave a small nod and followed him through the corridors. The palace was full of light and movement. Alien servants carried glowing objects that floated beside them. The walls whispered faint sounds, almost like songs. Everything here felt both ancient and advanced. When they reached the great hall, Queen Solara was already waiting. She stood near a large table made of crystal that showed moving holograms of stars and planets. Her crown shimmered under the pale light. "Aaron Wells," she said in a clear, cold voice. "You passed the mind prism. Many of my people doubt that it was skill. They say it was chance." Aaron clasped his hands behind his back. "I don't believe in chance, Your Majesty. Only in choices." Solara raised an eyebrow. "Then let us see the strength of your choices." She waved her hand and the hologram table changed. The map of the galaxy became a display of 2 fleets locked in a simulation of battle. The ships moved like living things. This is your second trial, she said. The trial of command. You will take command of a human fleet. I will command the Zeroth fleet. Your goal is to defeat me. The simulation uses real strategies, real timing, and real consequences. If you lose, it will show that humans still have much to learn. Aaron studied the holographic map. And if I win? Solara's voice dropped slightly. Then I will begin to believe that humans may one day stand beside the Zeroth as equals. She gestured again, and the simulation started. Aaron's fleet appeared on one side of the map. Smaller ships, fast but weak. The Zeroth fleet was larger, heavily armed, and positioned with perfect symmetry. It was a classic show of strength versus agility. Solara's lips curved into a faint smile. You may begin, Aaron nodded. He looked at the holographic controls and started adjusting the ship patterns. His eyes moved quickly, scanning data. He knew he could not win by strength. The Zeroth ships could crush his fleet in minutes if he played by their rules. So he decided not to play their game. Instead of forming a standard battle line, he broke his fleet into small groups. He sent one group to attack directly while others moved into strange looping paths. The alien scholars watching from the side whispered in confusion. Solara watched with calm interest. You scatter your ships. You will lose faster that way, Aaron smiled. Maybe. Or maybe I am making it harder for you to know which one to hit. The Queen's eyes narrowed. She gave a command, and her fleet advanced with perfect precision. Her ships fired energy beams that tore through one of the human groups. A few holograms blinked out. Aaron stayed calm. Let her think she's winning, he murmured. He waited for a moment, then gave new commands. His remaining ships began to turn and move in unpredictable directions. The sensors on the Zeroth side started to lose track of them. Solara frowned. They're using interference waves, clever. Aaron grinned. It's not interference. It's reflection. Your scanners are so strong they're confusing themselves. She paused. The hologram showed her ships slowing down as they tried to readjust their targeting. Aaron used that moment. He sent a single small ship to circle behind her main fleet. Solara noticed it too late. The ship dropped a field generator that created a false signal, an illusion of a much larger fleet appearing behind her. The alien scholars gasped as the Queen's fleet turned to face the illusion. In that instant, Aaron's real ships attacked from the front, hitting her core fleet hard. Solara's hand tightened on the control crystal. Her ships tried to counterattack, but they were now split into two directions. In less than 5 minutes, the simulation declared victory for the human fleet. The hall fell silent. Solara stood still, her eyes fixed on the hologram. The image faded, leaving only the cold glow of the crystal table. You won, she said quietly. Aaron nodded. Only because I knew I could not fight your strength directly. So I used your strength against you. The Queen turned her head slowly toward him. There was no anger on her face now, only deep thought. You think differently than we do. You see patterns in chaos. Most Zeroth would call that disorder. You call it creativity. Aaron smiled lightly. Maybe it's because humans grew up in a world that never made sense. We learned to adapt. Solara stepped closer to him. You confuse my people. They respect power. You win without showing it. That makes them uneasy. He met her gaze calmly. Power is not always about force, Your Majesty. Sometimes it's about the courage to try something new. Her eyes softened slightly. You speak as if you have led armies. He shook his head. No, I have only studied them. But studying people teaches you more than studying weapons. The Queen was silent for a long moment. The hall around them felt still, as if the palace itself was listening. Finally, she said, You may rest now. There will be a third trial soon. It will not test your mind, but your heart. Aaron bowed slightly. As you wish. She turned away, her expression unreadable. As he left the hall, Ralok followed him again. The guard walked quietly beside him until they reached the corridor that led to the guest rooms. Then Ralok spoke in a low voice. You should be careful. The Queen is not used to losing. Some among the council believe you are dangerous. They will not forgive you easily. Aaron nodded. I didn't come here to win. I came to understand. But maybe understanding is the hardest thing to win. Ralok looked at him, confused by his calmness. You speak like someone who has seen too much, Aaron smiled. Maybe I have. That night, Aaron could not sleep. The strange light of the alien moon poured through the window, casting moving patterns on the floor. He thought about the Queen, about her pride, and about the difference between their species. He respected her strength. She respected his cleverness even if she would not admit it. Between them, a strange tension had formed. Not hatred, not friendship, but something unspoken. In another part of the palace, Queen Solara stood alone on her balcony again. The stars of her empire shone brightly, but her thoughts were elsewhere. The last 2 trials had shaken her. She had expected the human to fail easily, to prove that her people were still the superior race. Instead, he had forced her to question her beliefs. Her advisor approached quietly. "Your Majesty, the Council demands to know why you allow this human to continue. He has embarrassed the Empire twice. If he passes another trial, they will see it as weakness." Solara's gaze stayed on the horizon. "Then let them see it as weakness, or as wisdom. The universe is changing. The old ways may not survive forever." The advisor bowed, unsure what to say. She turned and looked toward the guest wing. "Prepare the next trial. I want to see if this human's heart is as strong as his mind." Below the palace, the mind prism glowed again. Its systems were analyzing every move Aaron had made, every decision he had chosen. The ancient machine was learning something new, not just about humans, but about evolution itself. Aaron Wells had become more than a guest. He was now the question the Zeroth Empire had never asked before. The palace was quiet that morning. The sky above the Zeroth world had turned a deeper shade of blue, almost like an ocean made of light. Aaron stood near the window of his room, drinking water from a strange crystal cup. The air smelled clean but heavy, as if the world itself was waiting for something to happen. He had not seen Queen Solara since the fleet simulation. The guards told him she was preparing something called the Trial of the Heart. No one explained what it meant, and that made him curious. He had passed the test of mind and the test of command, but this one felt different. Something told him it would not be about winning or losing. It would be about truth. A chime rang, and Raylock, the silver-scaled guard, entered the room. "The Queen requests your presence," he said. Aaron nodded. "Then let's not keep her waiting." Raylock gave him a brief look. "I hope your heart is as clever as your brain." Aaron smiled. "I'll find out soon enough." They walked through long halls filled with glowing runes. The palace seemed alive. Every wall, every floor, every light shifted as if responding to unseen thoughts. The deeper they went, the quieter it became, until all Aaron could hear was the soft hum of power running through the building. Finally, they reached a large chamber with a high dome. At its center was a circle of silver light. Queen Solara stood there, dressed in ceremonial armor that shimmered like water. Her eyes glowed faintly, and her voice carried across the chamber when she spoke. "Aaron Wells, you have passed 2 trials. You have shown cleverness and courage, but intelligence and strategy are only tools. They mean nothing without something deeper." Aaron stepped forward slowly. "And that is the purpose of this trial?" "Yes," she said. "The trial of the heart tests loyalty, empathy, and truth. It reveals the spirit behind the mind." He nodded. "Then I'm ready." Solara looked at him for a long moment before raising her hand. The floor around them changed. The silver light expanded into a sphere that surrounded both of them. The world outside disappeared, and they stood inside a glowing space filled with shapes and sounds that shifted like dreams. "This is the heart field," she said. "It reads emotion and memory. It will show us both something we cannot hide." Aaron felt a strange warmth spread through his chest. Suddenly, images began to form in the air, scenes from his life. He saw his home on Earth, a small research station near a blue ocean. He saw his team, his friends, the people he had left behind to come here. He saw the faces of those lost during the war. His breath caught slightly, but he kept his eyes steady. Solara watched silently. The field then shifted toward her. Aaron saw flashes of her memories. The burning of cities, the loss of soldiers, the long centuries she had ruled alone. He saw her crown laid on the bodies of her fallen kin, and he understood that beneath her pride was pain. When the visions faded, Solara spoke softly. "Now you have seen my past, and I have seen yours. The next step is the test." "What kind of test?" Aaron asked. "Choice," she said simply. The light around them shaped itself into 2 paths. One showed an image of Earth. The other showed the Zeroth world. The Queen's voice echoed in the space. "One of these worlds will face destruction in this simulation. You can save only one. Whichever you save, the other will be erased. The choice will reveal your true nature." Aaron stared at the 2 paths. You want me to choose between my people and yours? Yes, Solara said. Show me the truth of the human heart. For a long moment, neither moved. The silence was heavy. Aaron could feel the weight of his decision pressing down on him. Then he asked quietly, "Is this what you had to do when you became queen?" Solara blinked. "What do you mean?" "When you took your crown," Aaron said, "did you have to choose between mercy and power? Between your people and others?" Her gaze shifted slightly. "Every leader must make such choices. It is what defines us." Aaron nodded slowly. "Then maybe it is not about saving one or the other. Maybe it is about finding a way where both can survive." Solara frowned. "That is not one of the options." "It is now," Aaron said. He stepped toward the center of the two paths. The light grew brighter. The field tried to push him back, but he stayed firm. Solara's eyes widened. "You cannot stand between the choices. The system will collapse, then let it collapse," he said. "Because life is not about choosing who lives and who dies. It's about finding a way that no one has to." The silver light around them began to twist and ripple. The field started to shake as if resisting his decision. Energy lines cracked in the air. Solara raised her hand. "Stop, you are breaking the system." Aaron kept his voice calm. "You wanted to test my heart. This is my answer. I will not choose destruction. I will choose understanding." The sphere around them flared in blinding light. The energy stormed, and for a few seconds both of them were surrounded by chaos. Then everything went still. When the light faded, they stood once again in the quiet chamber. The silver circle on the floor was gone, replaced by a single glowing crystal. Solara bent down and touched it. The crystal pulsed once and projected symbols into the air. The translation read, "Trial complete. Unmeasurable response detected." She stood slowly and looked at Aaron. "No one has ever done that. The heart field was not designed to allow it. You changed the structure itself." Aaron smiled lightly. "Guess I just broke another rule." Solara's face softened. For the first time, she did not seem angry. She seemed thoughtful, almost human. "You are a strange being, Aaron Wells," she said quietly. "You defy logic, yet you do it with peace in your eyes. My people will never understand you." "Maybe they don't have to," he said. "Understanding is a start. The rest takes time." Solara walked a few steps closer. The room glowed softly around them. "You have passed all 3 trials. By our law, that means you have earned the right to be treated as an equal of the Zaroth, but the Council will not accept this. They believe your kind is too dangerous." Aaron folded his arms. "Then maybe danger is what they need to learn from." Her lips curved slightly. "You speak boldly for someone who stands before an empire." He smiled. "Boldness is the only reason humanity survived." She stared at him, studying his face as if trying to understand something deeper. Then she turned toward the exit. "There will be a gathering tonight. The Council will decide your fate. You will stand before them and speak for your kind. Be ready." Aaron nodded. "I'll be there." After she left, he stood in silence. His heart was beating faster than before. The trials were over, but he knew the real challenge was still ahead. He would now face an entire alien council that feared him. That evening, the palace filled with light. Hundreds of Zaroth leaders gathered in the grand hall. Their armor reflected gold and blue, and their eyes glowed with suspicion. Aaron walked in slowly. Rylock followed behind him as a guard, but even he looked nervous. Queen Solara stood beside her throne. When Aaron entered, the hall grew silent. "This human has passed all trials," she said clearly. "He has proven intelligence, courage, and heart. Yet there are those who doubt his worth." A tall council member stepped forward. His scales were darker, his voice sharp. "He is a threat, Your Majesty. If a human can break the mind prism in the heart field, what will they do when they have more power?" "They will destroy us." Aaron stepped forward calmly. "We have no desire to destroy anyone. We just want peace. The war hurt both sides. Maybe it's time we stop fighting to prove who is better and start learning from each other." The hall murmured. Some leaders looked unsure. Solara raised a hand, silencing the crowd. "The decision will be made tonight. But remember this. Every test he faced, he won not with force but with thought." The council whispered among themselves. Aaron stood quietly, feeling the weight of 1,000 alien eyes on him. He glanced at the queen. For a moment their eyes met, and something unspoken passed between them. Not power, not challenge, but mutual respect. Whatever happened next, both of them knew one truth. The galaxy had changed the moment a human stood before the Zaroth and refused to play by their rules. The grand hall was vast, stretching as far as Aaron could see. Light from crystal chandeliers danced across the faces of hundreds of Zaroth leaders. The walls were covered in ancient runes that pulsed faintly with energy, as if the building itself were alive and listening. Aaron walked forward with measured steps. He could feel the weight of the room pressing down on him. The air smelled of metal and ozone, and every eye seemed to bore into him, curious and wary. Queen Solara stood near her throne, tall and regal. Her eyes glowed faintly blue, reflecting the calm authority that had defined her reign for centuries. Behind her, the council waited, their expressions a mix of suspicion, doubt, and intrigue. One council member, a tall figure with dark silver scales, stepped forward. "Human Aaron Wells, you have passed trials designed to test the greatest minds and hearts of our species. Yet we question whether your success is an accident or a threat." Aaron raised his hands in a respectful gesture. "I did not come here to be a threat. I came to understand. I came to show that humans can be allies, not enemies." Another council member hissed softly. "Your species fought us fiercely. How can we trust your words now?" Aaron took a deep breath. "Because I have nothing to gain by lying. I could have acted differently, chosen conflict instead of cooperation, but I chose to respect life and intelligence. That is how humans survived for thousands of years." A silence fell over the hall. The leaders whispered among themselves, some frowning, others nodding slightly. Queen Solara raised her hand and the murmurs stopped. "This human has proven something few could believe. He has shown intellect, strategy, and courage. But the council fears the unknown. You must speak now, Aaron Wells. Convince them that humans are not a danger to the Zaroth." Aaron stepped forward, his voice steady and clear. "Council members of the Zaroth Empire, I do not ask for blind trust. I ask for understanding. Humans are not perfect, but we have learned to survive by thinking, adapting, and respecting others when possible. Just as you value wisdom, strength, and honor, we value knowledge, creativity, and cooperation. Together, we can build a galaxy where both our species grow stronger, not weaker." The room was silent again. The council members shifted uneasily. They had expected fear or arrogance from him. Instead, they heard confidence and reason. One elder spoke, his voice deep and cautious. "Your words are impressive, human, but how can we measure your loyalty? How can we know that your actions will follow your words?" Aaron looked directly at him. "Measure us by our choices, not by our history. History shows conflict, yes, but it also shows learning, innovation, and resilience. The Zaroth have seen my choices through the trials. I have not acted for personal gain, only for truth and understanding. If you watch closely, my future actions will speak louder than words." Another council member hissed angrily. "You speak boldly for a single human. You cannot represent an entire species with your choices." Aaron nodded. "I know I am only one human, but every alliance starts with one voice. Every change begins with one decision. I offer that voice and that decision. The rest is up to your judgment." Solara's eyes softened as she watched him. She could see the sincerity in his gaze. Even the council members, trained to detect deception, could not deny the calm honesty in his demeanor. A third council member, younger and less experienced, spoke quietly. "Your methods are strange. You win trials in ways no Zaroth could imagine. Perhaps your people see problems differently than we do. Perhaps that is not weakness, but a strength we cannot yet understand." Solara nodded slightly. "He has shown strength in ways our empire has never considered. That is why the council's judgment must weigh courage, intelligence, and heart together, not individually." The hall grew quiet as the council conferred among themselves. Aaron could feel their energy shifting, their opinions forming and changing as they debated quietly in their native language. He did not understand their words, but he could sense their thought patterns, the rising tension and the grudging respect. After what felt like an eternity, Solara raised her hand again. "The council has reached a decision. Human Aaron Wells, you have passed all trials set before you. Your intellect, strategy, and heart have proven exceptional. Therefore, by the laws of the Zaroth Empire, you are to be treated as an equal of our species while on this world. You may speak freely, move freely, and represent your people in discussions with our leaders." Aaron bowed slightly. Relief washed over him. He had expected challenges, but he had not expected such recognition. The council members murmured among themselves, some reluctantly accepting, others still skeptical but unwilling to oppose the Queen's judgment openly. Solara's voice rang out clearly. Let it be known that the trials of the human have shown potential, not only for respect but also for cooperation. Let this be the beginning of dialogue between our species, not conflict. Aaron nodded respectfully. Thank you, Your Majesty. I will honor this trust. Solara studied him for a moment, her eyes thoughtful. Trust must be earned continuously, Aaron Wells. One trial does not make a lifetime of understanding. But it is a beginning. That is all any leader can hope for. Aaron smiled lightly. Then I will start with the beginning. After the formal announcement, the council dispersed. Some members stayed behind to observe him, curious about his reactions and methods. Others spoke quietly with Solara, trying to determine how much influence a human might have on their empire. Aaron walked with Raylock through the palace corridors. So I'm officially accepted, he said quietly. Raylock tilted his head. Accepted, yes. But some still do not trust you. You have won respect but not hearts. That will take more than cleverness, Aaron nodded thoughtfully. I understand. Influence comes from actions, not words. I will keep that in mind. Later, Solara summoned him to a private chamber. The room overlooked the city below. Flying ships moved in perfect formations, reflecting sunlight off their crystal hulls. You have done well, Aaron Wells, she said. But this is only the first step. The Zerath Empire faces challenges beyond your trials. There are factions among my people who wish to use war for power. They may test you in ways more dangerous than the trials you faced. Aaron listened carefully. Then I will be ready. I am not here to fight, but I can think. And thinking is sometimes more powerful than weapons. Solara smiled faintly. You are persistent. That may be your greatest strength. As they spoke, the palace walls seemed to hum quietly, the energy of the Empire reacting to their presence. Aaron realized that every choice he had made, every act of reasoning had ripple effects far beyond what he could see. In the following days, he began meeting with various council members individually. Some were cautious, others hostile, but all were intrigued. They questioned him about human technology, diplomacy, and philosophy. Aaron answered honestly, carefully showing humanity's strengths without exposing weaknesses. He explained how humans survived in harsh conditions, how they learned from failure, and how cooperation often mattered more than domination. Slowly, he began to earn small victories in understanding, even among the most skeptical council members. One evening, he met Solara on the palace balcony. The city lights twinkled below like stars on the ground. You are changing their minds, she said softly. Even those who distrust you are beginning to see value in your ideas. Aaron leaned on the railing, looking out at the city. It takes time, but change is possible. That is what humans believe. That effort, patience, and reasoning can make the impossible possible. Solara regarded him silently. You have taught me something, Aaron Wells. Perhaps humans are more than I imagined. Perhaps they are more than any of us imagined, Aaron smiled. Maybe, but the galaxy is big. There's still much to learn, and much more to understand. The Queen looked at him thoughtfully. Then let us see how far this understanding can go. Tomorrow you will address the full council again. It will not be a trial of mind, heart, or strategy. It will be a trial of leadership. How well you guide, influence, and inspire will determine how humans are seen in our empire. Aaron nodded. Then I will be ready. The night passed quietly. Aaron could feel the weight of history pressing on his shoulders. He was no longer just a visitor or a scientist. He had become a symbol, a bridge between two species, a test of what could happen when understanding, intelligence, and courage met pride and tradition. And as the stars of the Zeroth world shone brightly above, he knew that the greatest challenge was yet to come. The next morning, the grand hall of the Zeroth Empire gleamed brighter than ever. Sunlight from the twin moons reflected on crystal towers and the polished floor of the hall. Council members gathered in full, their expressions ranging from suspicion to curiosity. Today was different. Today, Aaron Wells would face the final challenge, the trial of leadership. Queen Solara stood at the head of the hall, her presence commanding silence. Today, she began, the human Aaron Wells will demonstrate the ability to lead, influence, and inspire. He has shown intelligence, courage, and heart. Now we will see if he can guide others. Aaron stepped forward, bowing slightly. He knew this trial was more than words or strategy. It was a test of character, patience, and diplomacy. He had learned much in the past days, but this would show whether he could connect with a society unlike his own. Solara gestured, and a series of holographic projections appeared around the hall. Each projection displayed a scenario affecting the Zeroth Empire: economic imbalance, territorial disputes, and the aftermath of minor skirmishes on distant planets. These situations, Solara explained, require solutions that benefit the Empire. You may suggest actions, negotiate resolutions, and make decisions. Your influence will be measured not by force but by outcomes. Aaron studied the scenarios carefully. He noticed that the council members each held personal biases, some favoring aggressive solutions, others advocating isolation or strict control. If he wanted to succeed, he needed to appeal to reason and compassion simultaneously. He began with the first scenario, a planetary dispute where two Zeroth colonies claimed the same mining territory. Many council members suggested sending military forces to assert dominance. Aaron raised his hand. "What if we approached this differently?" he said calmly. "Instead of sending troops, we could establish joint management of the mining resources, assign representatives from both colonies to collaborate, ensuring fair distribution. This will prevent conflict and increase productivity." The council members murmured. Some frowned, believing the idea too soft, but others nodded. A few whispered that the approach was unusual but effective. Solara's eyes remained focused on him. "Continue," she said. Aaron moved on to the second scenario, an economic imbalance where certain regions of the Empire were growing wealthy while others struggled. "Humans have a concept called resource sharing," Aaron explained. "By redistributing certain supplies and creating trade agreements, we can lift weaker regions without weakening stronger ones. Encouraging cooperation rather than competition will strengthen the Empire overall." A younger council member whispered to a colleague. "He speaks with knowledge beyond our borders." Perhaps he is right. Aaron could feel subtle shifts. The council was listening differently than before. Their attention had changed from suspicion to curiosity. The third scenario involved environmental hazards on a mining planet, threatening both workers and infrastructure. Most Zeroth leaders suggested evacuation or abandoning the site. Aaron shook his head. "Abandoning the planet will create long-term losses. We can instead apply sustainable mining techniques and protect the workers. Humans often face harsh environments, and we have learned how to adapt without giving up. The same principle can be applied here." Solara's eyes flickered with approval. Even she had not expected the human to approach the challenges so calmly and effectively. The council paused, whispering among themselves. The skepticism that had shadowed Aaron's presence began to fade. The members could see that his decisions were logical, fair, and innovative. Then came the most difficult scenario, a rebellion brewing on a remote colony. The rebels demanded independence, and the council wanted to suppress them with force. Aaron looked at the projections carefully. "Violence will only lead to further rebellion," he said. "If we address the root causes of dissatisfaction, such as access to resources, fair governance, and communication, we can integrate the colony willingly. Leadership is not about controlling through fear, but guiding with wisdom." Some council members hissed quietly. Others nodded, seeing the sense in his words. Solara stepped forward. "The final measure of this trial," she said, "is not only solutions but the ability to inspire the council. Speak to them directly, Aaron Wells. Convince them that humans can be allies." Aaron straightened and addressed the room. "Leaders of the Zeroth Empire, I am only one human among billions. Yet I believe that cooperation between our species can bring strength, stability, and prosperity. We face challenges that are too great for one species alone. Humans may be different, but that difference is not weakness. It is opportunity. Let us work together, learn from one another, and create a galaxy where intelligence, courage, and heart are shared, not hoarded." A silence fell. Then one by one, council members began to nod. Some murmured agreements. Even those who were skeptical before could not deny the truth in his words. Queen Solara's eyes shone faintly. She spoke clearly to the council. "Aaron Wells has demonstrated what few expected. He has guided, inspired, and solved problems without force or deception. By Zeroth law, this constitutes the trial of leadership. The human has earned our recognition and respect." The hall erupted in a mix of astonishment and approval. Council members approached Aaron, shaking his hand or bowing in acknowledgement. For a brief moment, he realized that he had done more than past trials. He had changed minds. Solara stepped closer. "Aaron Wells," she said softly, "you have proven yourself beyond what anyone imagined. You are no longer merely a guest or a visitor. You have become a bridge between our species. Your wisdom and heart have earned my respect, and through you, the Zeroth Empire will see a future of potential collaboration. Aaron bowed respectfully. Thank you, Your Majesty. I will honor this trust and continue to work toward understanding. Outside the palace, the city seemed to hum with energy. The news of his success spread quickly. Citizens and scholars alike spoke of the human who had faced the Queen's trials, and won with intellect and integrity. The story inspired hope among many, creating a sense of possibility in a world long dominated by tradition and power. In the days that followed, Aaron began to collaborate with Zeroth leaders on various projects. They worked on improving resource distribution, developing peaceful trade routes, and enhancing planetary defenses without conflict. He noticed that even the most skeptical leaders began to change. They still valued strength, but now they also valued intelligence, empathy, and foresight. The human influence had shifted perspectives without demanding submission or obedience. Queen Solara watched him carefully. "You have done more than I expected," she said one evening as they walked through the palace gardens. Strange plants glowed faintly in the twilight, and the city lights shimmered below. Aaron smiled. "I only did what humans do best: learn, adapt, and try to understand others." Solara nodded. "Yet that is exactly what my empire needed. Perhaps it was not just the trials that were meant to test you, but to test us as well." Aaron considered her words. "It seems we both learned something. Different species, different methods, yet similar goals. Survival, growth, and understanding." She studied him in silence, then finally spoke. "Then let us continue this path. Together we may achieve what neither species could alone." Weeks passed, and the bond between humans and Zeroth deepened. Aaron's presence became a symbol of cooperation, inspiring scientists, leaders, and citizens alike. New trade agreements were signed, exploratory missions planned, and joint education programs launched. Even the Mind Prism, the ancient machine that had tested Aaron's mind, now seemed to hum with curiosity and approval. Its systems recorded every decision, every conversation, and every act of diplomacy. Perhaps it had learned something new about adaptability, intelligence, and the potential of different minds working together. As Aaron looked out over the city one evening, Queen Solara joined him silently. Together they watched the twin moons rise above the crystal towers. "History will remember this," Solara said softly. Aaron nodded. "Not because of one human or one queen, but because we chose to understand rather than destroy." The queen smiled faintly, a rare gesture that softened the lines of her face. "Then let this be only the beginning. The galaxy is vast and there is much to do." Aaron's eyes sparkled with quiet determination. "Then let's start." And so a new era began. One where humans and Zeroth stood not as rivals but as partners, facing the universe together. What had started as a series of trials had become a lasting alliance. A human had shown that courage, intelligence, and heart could change even the most ancient and powerful empire. In the great halls of the Zeroth Empire, under the watchful eyes of the Queen and Council, Aaron Wells became a symbol, not of conquest, not of domination, but of hope. A hope that one mind, one choice, and one act of understanding could change the fate of the galaxy. And as the stars shimmered above, both species knew something remarkable had happened. The galaxy was no longer divided by fear and pride. It was united by wisdom, courage, and the enduring belief that understanding could overcome the impossible.